I'm Clyde. If this is your first time here, I'm a time traveler, though not the exciting kind. I tend to end up in places where nothing very dramatic happens. Quiet places. Working places. Places that hum and sigh and keep going whether anyone's watching or not. I spend my time drifting through history, sitting down wherever I land, and noticing small things until I get sleepy. If you enjoy this sort of thing, you can find all of my boring little journeys collected together in a playlist here on the channel. They're all waiting for you whenever you feel like wandering, before you settle in too deeply. This is your gentle reminder to like the video and subscribe now. That way you don't have to think about it later, when you're already drifting off and your hands don't feel like moving anymore. And if you ever feel like going a little deeper, becoming a channel member helps support these quiet travels. Members also get something special, a personalized sleepy story from me, just for you. A place, a moment, a soft little nothing to rest inside. Tonight I've landed in New York City, the late 1880s. I'm inside a paper factory, the kind that smells faintly of wet wood, warm starch, and something that reminds me of oatmeal left just a little too long on the stove. The air is heavy but patient, full of steam and dust and the steady confidence of machines that have been doing the same job all day, and will keep doing it long after I stop paying attention. The building breathes around me. Belts turn, rollers press. Something somewhere sighs in a way that sounds almost human if you don't think about it too hard. I've found a place to sit where I won't be in the way. No one seems to mind. They're busy with their own rhythms, their own small thoughts. So, get comfortable. Let your shoulders lower. There's nothing you need to follow closely tonight. I'll tell you what I notice. And if your mind wanders off somewhere quieter, that's perfectly fine. Let's begin. The first thing I notice is the sound. It isn't loud, not in the way people usually mean loud. It's constant, layered, a kind of ongoing agreement between metal and motion. The machines creak and roll and whisper to one another through belts and wheels. Somewhere nearby, paper slides over paper with a dry, patient shh that never quite finishes. Every few seconds, there's a soft thump as a stack is shifted or a bundle is set down. None of it demands attention. It just exists, the way breathing does. I'm sitting on a low wooden crate near one of the longer tables. Someone has chalked numbers on the side of it, though the chalk is smudged now, like the crate changed its mind about being counted. My back rests against a brick wall that's still holding on to the warmth from earlier in the day. It's comforting in a way I didn't expect, like leaning against something that's already tired. The smell never really changes. Wet pulp, warm wood, steam, and underneath it all, that faint oatmeal note I can't quite explain. I wonder if someone here eats oatmeal every morning and has carried the scent in on their clothes. Or maybe it's just my mind reaching for something familiar. Minds do that when they're getting sleepy. They start borrowing comfort from unrelated places. Across the room, a man with rolled-up sleeves guides a wide sheet of paper forward, his hands moving with the confidence of someone who could probably do this with his eyes closed. He doesn't look unhappy. He doesn't look thrilled either. He looks occupied, fully inside the task. There's something restful about watching people who know exactly what they're doing. Not far from him, a boy, maybe 12, maybe younger, moves bundles from one stack to another. He hums while he works. Not a song I recognize. Possibly not a song at all. Just a sound that stays mostly inside his mouth. No one tells him to stop. A cat sits on a ledge near one of the tall factory windows, tail wrapped neatly around its paws. It watches everything without getting involved, which feels like the correct approach. Its ears twitch when a belt squeals, but otherwise it looks deeply unimpressed by the Industrial Revolution. High above us, gas lamps glow softly, their light caught in the steam drifting toward the ceiling. Outside, I know the city is busy. Streetcars clattering, newsboys shouting, horses shifting their weight on stone. But in here, it all feels very far away. Like the factory has decided it doesn't need the rest of New York right now. I think about how much paper is made in places like this. Newspapers, letters, ledgers, books that haven't been written yet. All of it starting here, as pulp and patience and people standing at tables doing the same careful motions again and again. The thought stretches out, and then drifts off before it finishes. I shift slightly on the crate. It creaks in response, but nothing complains. The machines don't pause. The cat doesn't look at me. The boy keeps humming. Everything continues, and somehow that makes it easier to breathe. After a while, I realize the factory has a rhythm, not a fast one, not a slow one either, just dependable. There's a pause in the machinery every so often. Not a full stop, just a soft easing, like the building itself is stretching its joints. During those moments, people adjust their posture, wipe their hands on aprons, or take a careful sip from dented tin cups that look like they've been dropped more times than anyone wants to count. Someone nearby smells faintly of soap, the kind that comes in big pale blocks and doesn't pretend to be fancy. It's oddly reassuring. Soap smells like someone planned ahead. I notice a man carefully folding paper into neat stacks, tapping the edges against the table to square them up. He does it 3 times every stack. Always 3. I wonder if he knows he's doing that, or if his hands just decided that 3 is the correct number and never bothered to explain it to the rest of him. A loose scrap of paper flutters down from somewhere above and lands near my boot. I pick it up and turn it over. There's nothing written on it. Just a blank piece of future waiting patiently to become something important. Or not. I set it back down gently, like it might startle if I'm careless. In the corner of the room, a steam pipe ticks as it cools, making small metallic sounds that remind me of someone quietly counting under their breath. 1, 2, pause, 3. It's not keeping time with anything else, but it doesn't seem bothered by that. Outside one of the high windows, I can just make out the muted movement of the city. A horse passes, then another. Somewhere not too far away, I imagine a street vendor arguing with himself about prices. New York in the 1880s is full of that. Motion layered on top of motion, everyone convinced they're late for something important. In here, no one seems rushed. A woman walks by carrying a bundle nearly as wide as she is. She doesn't stumble. She doesn't hurry. She just adjusts her grip and keeps going, her boots leaving soft prints in the dust on the floor. The dust doesn't mind. It's been stepped on all day. The cat has moved. It now occupies a different ledge, slightly closer to the warm air rising from the machines. Its eyes are half closed, ears flicking occasionally, as if it's listening just enough to make sure nothing interesting is happening. I respect that level of commitment to rest. I shift my weight again. The crate creaks, but it's a friendly sound now, like we've come to an understanding. I feel my breathing slow without asking it to. The factory keeps working. The city keeps moving. And somehow, I don't feel like I need to do either. Time moves differently in here. I don't mean that in a mysterious way. It just stretches. Minutes seem wider, longer at the edges. I watch a clock mounted high on a beam near the ceiling. It's large, practical, and clearly not interested in poetry. Its hands move when they feel like it. No one looks up to check it. I get the sense it's there mostly to satisfy someone who doesn't spend much time on the factory floor. A bell rings somewhere deeper in the building, not loud, just enough to be acknowledged. A few workers straighten, others don't. One man scratches his head like he was about to do something important and forgot what it was. That seems reasonable. Paper dust floats lazily through the air, catching the lamplight. It reminds me of snow that hasn't decided whether it's worth falling yet. If I stare at it too long, my eyes go soft around the edges, and the whole room feels like it's wrapped in cotton. Someone nearby clears their throat. Someone else laughs, just once, like it surprised them. I notice a stack of ledgers on a side table. Heavy ones. The kind that record shipments, wages, inventory. Columns of numbers written carefully by hand. No erasers. Just confidence and crossed out mistakes. I imagine the person who fills them out takes pride in straight lines and consistent spacing. That feels like a comforting thing to care about. Near my foot, a small wooden ruler lies abandoned. It's worn smooth from use, its numbers faint but still present. I nudge it accidentally, and it rolls a few inches before stopping, satisfied with its new position. Nothing scolds me for it. The factory workers move around one another with quiet efficiency. No shouting, no rushing. Just a shared understanding of where everyone will be next. It feels practiced, earned. This isn't the chaos people imagine when they think of industry. It's more like a very large, very patient habit. I realize I'm warm, not overheated, just comfortably held. The brick wall at my back still carries the day's warmth, and the machines give off a steady heat that feels intentional, like the building wants to make sure no one gets too cold while they're busy. The cat stretches. It arches its back slowly, deliberately, as if demonstrating the correct way to exist. Then it settles again, tail flicking once, eyes closing. I decide the cat is probably the wisest creature in the room. My breathing has slowed further now. I didn't tell it to. It just noticed the environment and adjusted. Outside, the city continues doing whatever cities do, building upward, outward, louder. But none of that feels urgent from here. In this place, everything important is already happening. Paper is becoming paper. People are becoming tired. Evening is on its way. I let my head rest back against the wall. The factory doesn't react. It keeps going, and I let it. I didn't notice myself getting tired. It happened quietly, like the way evening slips into a room without announcing itself. A man nearby sets down his tools and rolls his shoulders once, then twice. The movement looks practiced, as if his body knows exactly where the ache lives and how to speak to it. He exhales through his nose and reaches for a cup that's been waiting patiently on the edge of the table. The metal clinks softly when he lifts it. No one comments. No one needs to. Someone opens a window just a little farther. Cool air drifts in, carrying a trace of the river and something sharp and clean. Maybe coal smoke from a passing tugboat. Maybe just the idea of outside. It mixes with the warmth inside the factory and settles into something comfortable, like a compromise both sides are happy with. I watch a wide sheet of paper feed through a set of rollers. It moves slowly, deliberately, as if it knows it has nowhere else to be. The surface catches the light for a moment, glowing pale and smooth before disappearing again. I imagine it becoming tomorrow's newspaper, or a letter folded carefully into a coat pocket, or a page in a book someone will read by lamplight years from now. That feels like a long way away. The boy who was humming earlier has stopped. Not abruptly, just gradually. The sound fades out like it finished its job and went somewhere else. He rubs his hands together and looks around, waiting for the next small instruction. Someone nods in his direction and he moves on without a word. There's a broom leaning against the wall near me. Its bristles are worn unevenly, bent in ways that suggest corners it's known well. It hasn't been used in a while, but it seems confident it will be needed again soon. Everything in this place feels prepared for repetition. The cat shifts again, curling tighter this time. One paw twitches, then relaxes. I briefly wonder what cats dream about in factories. Probably nothing urgent. My eyes close for a second. Not sleep, just rest. When I open them again, nothing has changed. The machines still move. The lights still glow. The world hasn't noticed my brief absence, and that feels oddly reassuring. I let my head tilt back against the wall once more. The brick is solid, unconcerned. It holds me there without asking anything in return. At some point, the light changes. Not dramatically. Just enough to notice if you're already paying attention. The gas lamps seem a little softer now, their glow spreading wider, less sharp at the edges. Shadows stretch longer across the floor, settling into corners they hadn't reached earlier. The steam looks thicker in places, not because there's more of it, but because it's moving more slowly, like it's getting tired too. Someone nearby yawns without covering their mouth. No one reacts. It feels like a shared understanding rather than a breach of manners. A man walks past carrying a crate stamped with faded letters, the ink worn thin from too many journeys. I don't catch all of it, but I recognize part of a mill name, maybe one along the Hudson. Paper travels a lot in this era. Boats, wagons, trains that smell like iron and oil. It goes everywhere quietly, rarely thanked. There's a faint ringing in my ears now, not unpleasant. Just the lingering echo of machines that have been talking all day. If I focus on it too closely, it dissolves into something softer, like wind passing through tall grass. I decide not to focus too closely. A worker pauses near the window and rubs a clear spot in the glass with his sleeve, peering out as if checking the sky. He nods once, satisfied, and returns to his station. I wonder what he saw. Clouds, maybe. Or the first suggestion of evening settling over the river. On the floor nearby, a few scraps of paper have gathered themselves into a small, accidental pile. No one sweeps them away yet. They wait. Everything here seems willing to wait. The cat lifts its head briefly, eyes half open, then lowers it again. One ear flicks. That's the most effort it's willing to give the moment. My shoulders feel heavy now, not sore, just pleasantly weighted, like they've decided to stay exactly where they are. The wall at my back hasn't changed. It's still warm, still solid, still uninterested in my thoughts. I realize I've stopped wondering what time it is. That feels important. The factory keeps doing what it does best, turning motion into material, noise into routine, hours into something useful. I let my breathing follow along, slow and even, matching the pace of belts and rollers and the quiet patience of the room. Nothing asks me to move, so I don't. The factory settles into itself. I can feel it happening the way you feel a room exhale after a long day. The machines don't stop, but their voices soften, edges worn down by repetition. What was once a conversation becomes a murmur. What was once a murmur becomes something closer to a lullaby if you don't think too hard about it. Someone turns a valve with careful hands. Steam sighs in response like it's been waiting for permission to relax. A belt slips slightly, then corrects itself without drama. Nothing here wants attention. Everything just wants to keep going in the easiest way possible. A man near the far table hums now, different from the boy earlier. Lower, slower. It sounds like a tune that's been passed down without words, carried from one shift to another. It doesn't finish. It just loops quietly, content not to reach a conclusion. I notice a stack of newspapers being bundled nearby, twine pulled tight around them with practiced ease. Headlines face inward. The stories will come later. For now, they're just weight and shape and possibility. Someone pats the bundle once, as if to reassure it, then moves on. The windows darken slightly. Not night yet, just the beginning of it. The city outside is still busy, always busy. But in here, the world feels narrowed down to essentials. Light, heat, motion, breath. I become aware of my hands resting in my lap. They're still. Warm. Dusty with paper fibers that cling to my skin no matter how little I touch anything. I brush at them once, lazily, and decide it isn't worth the effort to keep them clean. A rat darts along the far wall, quick and efficient, disappearing behind a stack of crates. No one reacts. It belongs here as much as anyone else. The factory has room for all kinds of quiet workers. My eyelids feel heavier now, not closing, just considering it. I listen to the sound of paper sliding over and over, each pass nearly identical to the last. If I tried to count them, I'd lose track almost immediately. That seems like the point. The brick wall holds steady behind me. The floor stays where it is. The factory continues its patient work, and for a while, that's all there is. There's a moment when I stop thinking in sentences. Not all at once, just gradually. Thoughts lose their edges first. They stop lining up politely and begin drifting past one another like people exiting through different doors. Nothing urgent remains. Nothing insists on being finished. The factory sounds blend together now. I can't tell where one machine ends and another begins. It's all part of the same steady presence, like listening to rain when you're too tired to count individual drops. Someone laughs again, farther away this time. It's softer, almost swallowed by the room. The sound doesn't carry far. It doesn't need to. A man walks by with ink-stained fingers, rubbing his thumb against his forefinger as if checking whether the day is still clinging to him. He leaves faint marks on the edge of a table without noticing. Tomorrow, someone else will wonder where they came from. I feel the slow rise and fall of my breathing matching the pace of the factory. In, out. Pause. The air tastes like damp paper and warm iron. Not unpleasant, just specific. The kind of smell that only exists in one place, at one time and never quite again the same way. The cat shifts in its sleep and lets out a small sound. Not quite a meow, not quite a sigh. I smile without opening my eyes. Even the animals here seem to understand that nothing needs to be rushed. Somewhere, a clock ticks. I don't know if it's keeping accurate time. It doesn't matter. Time feels wide enough already. My shoulders sink a little more. The floor feels farther away. The ceiling feels higher. The space between things grows softer, easier to pass through without bumping into anything sharp. I could stay here like this for a long while. Listening, breathing, letting the world take care of itself for a bit. The factory hums on, steady, unconcerned, and I let it carry the thinking for me. The factory feels smaller now, not because anything has changed, but because I fit into it better. My awareness doesn't stretch as far as it did earlier. I'm no longer tracking every sound, every movement. The room has narrowed itself down to what's closest. The wall at my back, the steady warmth in the air, the low, even breathing of machines that have long since stopped needing supervision. Someone sets down a bundle of paper nearby. The impact is soft, padded by layers and layers of work already done. The twine creaks faintly, then goes still. That sound settles somewhere deep in my chest, like it belongs there. The lamps flicker once, just slightly. No one looks up. They never do. Gaslight has its own moods, and everyone here seems content to let it have them. I catch myself counting breaths again, not on purpose, just noticing. In, out, pause. A distant door opens and closes. The sound arrives late, softened by walls and steam and time. Somewhere beyond the factory, a streetcar bell rings, thin and far away, like it belongs to another life entirely. The cat hasn't moved in a while. I decide that's probably a good sign. My hands feel heavier now, resting where they are. The fine paper dust clinging to my skin doesn't bother me anymore. It feels like part of the place has decided to stay with me for a bit, and I don't see any reason to argue. There's a gentle sway to everything. Not literal, just the sense that if I leaned a little farther back, the whole room would adjust with me. making space without complaint. I stop wondering how long I've been here. Time feels unnecessary. The factory continues its work, steady and unbothered. The city keeps existing somewhere outside these walls, and here, right here, there's nothing I need to do at all. There's less distance between one moment and the next now. They overlap a little, blur at the edges. I notice sounds arriving late, as if they've taken the long way round before reaching me. A belt squeaks somewhere, but the sound feels padded, softened by layers of steam and habit. Even the sharper noises don't quite reach sharpness anymore. Everything has been rounded off by time. A worker sets down a stack of paper and presses the top flat with both palms. He doesn't rush. He doesn't check anything twice. His hands linger for a second longer than necessary, like he's saying goodbye to the task before moving on. The lamps flicker again. Just once. It feels almost polite. I can sense the weight of the building now, not physically, but as a presence. Brick, iron, timber beams holding steady above us. This place has been standing long enough to trust itself. It doesn't worry about the night. It's seen plenty of them already. My head tilts slightly to one side. I don't correct it. Breathing happens without my permission now. Slow, even unconcerned. Somewhere, a page tears, not a mistake, just a clean separation, the sound brief and final. I imagine the torn edge uneven and soft, like it belongs exactly where it ended up. The cat doesn't stir, the rat doesn't return. The factory keeps humming. Thoughts come and go, but they don't stay long enough to introduce themselves. If one lingers too much, it dissolves on its own, like it knows it's overstayed. I feel warm, held, unhurried. Whatever hour it is, it feels like the right one. The world continues doing its careful work around me, steady and quiet, and I sink a little farther into the moment without meaning to. There's nothing else I need to notice, and that feels just fine. The factory feels like it's listening now, not in a watchful way, more like a shared awareness. The machines continue their work, but their movements feel slower, more deliberate, as if they've decided this hour belongs to quiet efficiency rather than urgency. Every rotation seems measured. Every belt knows exactly how far it needs to go, and no farther. Someone nearby adjusts a stack of paper, nudging one corner until the edges line up just right. The sound it makes is barely there. A whisper of fibers, brushing fibers. It's the kind of sound you only hear when everything else has settled enough to make room for it. I feel the weight of my cloak resting over my shoulders. It's heavier than it looks, worn in places where hands have pulled it close, against cold evenings and drafty rooms. The fabric smells faintly of dust and old air and something comforting I can't name. It feels like it belongs here. A worker passes by slowly, boots scuffing the floor in a rhythm that almost matches my breathing. Almost. Close enough to be reassuring without becoming distracting. He pauses at a table, checks something small, then moves on without a word. The lamps glow steadily now, no flickering, as if they've decided to behave for the rest of the night. Their light pools on the floor and stretches across the tables, touching stacks of paper that wait patiently for whatever comes next. My thoughts drift again, not far, just enough to loosen their grip. I think about how many nights like this have happened in this building. How many people have leaned against these same walls, letting the day drain out of them before walking back into the city. The brick behind me feels cooler now. Not cold, just steady. Grounding. I don't shift. I don't need to. The factory keeps breathing. The city keeps turning somewhere beyond the walls, and I stay right where I am. Comfortable inside the pause between moments. The space between sounds grows wider. Not empty, just forgiving. I hear the machines more as presence than noise now. They're doing what they've always done, and they don't need acknowledgement for it. Belts move. Rollers turn. Steam lifts and settles like a thought that doesn't quite finish forming. Someone somewhere closes a ledger. The cover makes a soft, final sound, like punctuation at the end of a long sentence. I imagine the neat columns inside, numbers lining up patiently, satisfied with the day's work. My head shifts slightly, finding a better place against the brick. I don't remember deciding to do it. My body just makes the adjustment on its own, the way it always does when it knows I'm not in a hurry. The warmth in the room feels even now, balanced, not coming from any one place, just everywhere at once. It wraps around my shoulders, settles into my hands, lingers at the back of my neck. A worker walks past quietly, boots barely lifting from the floor. He smells faintly of paper and soap and something metallic that reminds me of coins warmed in a pocket. He pauses for a moment, glances in my direction, then looks away without concern. No one is worried about me being here. That's comforting. The cat opens one eye, then closes it again. A decision made and immediately unmade. I take that as permission to do the same with my thoughts. Breathing becomes the most noticeable thing. In, out, no effort at all. The factory doesn't ask me to keep track of anything anymore. It's already doing that for everyone inside it. Time, motion, order, all accounted for. I let my shoulders drop another inch. There's a sense now, not of ending, but of depth. Like sinking into a chair that keeps going lower than expected, but never becomes uncomfortable. Everything holds, everything continues. And I stay right there in the middle of it, letting the night finish arriving without my help. I'm not fully awake anymore, but I'm not asleep either. It feels like floating in the middle of a long breath, right after the inhale and before the exhale remembers what it's supposed to do. There's no effort in it. No direction, just the quiet balance of being held in place. The factory sounds fade into something more abstract now. Not silence, just texture. A low hum without a source, a rhythm without a beginning. If I tried to trace it back to a specific machine, I'd lose interest halfway through. Someone shuts off a smaller piece of equipment nearby. The change is subtle. Most people wouldn't notice it at all. But the room adjusts like it's rearranging itself slightly to account for the new quiet. Paper dust settles slowly. I can almost feel it drifting down, one invisible piece at a time, landing wherever it happens to land and deciding to stay there for the night. My breathing feels distant, reliable, unimportant in the best way. A worker pauses at a table, stretches his hands and lets them rest flat on the surface for a moment longer than necessary. Then he straightens and walks away, leaving the table exactly as it was. That small stillness lingers after he's gone. The lamps glow like they're tired too. Their light doesn't reach as far as it did earlier. It pools closer now, gathering around stacks of paper, around edges of machines, around places where nothing much is happening. The shadows don't feel heavy. They feel soft, forgiving. I realize I haven't moved in a while. Nothing aches, nothing tingles. Nothing asks for attention. The brick wall behind me feels steady and cool again, as if it's gently reminding me that it's there, that it will continue to be there whether I notice it or not. Thoughts drift through without stopping. One arrives, rests briefly, and dissolves before it can turn into anything solid. The factory continues its quiet work, turning hours into something usable, even as those hours stretch and blur and lose their names. I stay right where I am, balanced somewhere between moments, letting the night deepen without keeping track of how far it's gone. The factory has settled into night without announcing it. There's no clear moment when day stops and night begins in a place like this. It just happens. The light softens. The air cools slightly. The work continues, but with less urgency, like everyone has agreed to move a little more gently now. I hear fewer footsteps. When they do pass, they sound farther away, even when they're close. Sound seems to travel differently at this hour, as if it's learned how to be polite. A machine somewhere clicks off, then another. Not all at once. One by one, like lamps being dimmed in rooms no one plans to use again tonight. Each change leaves behind a slightly deeper quiet, and the factory adjusts without complaint. I feel the weight of the floor beneath me more clearly now. Solid, reliable. It's been holding people up all day and shows no sign of being tired of the job. There's something comforting about that kind of consistency. The air smells cooler too. Less steam, more night. Paper and brick and a faint trace of oil. It feels like the building is exhaling after a long stretch of effort. My thoughts slow even further. They don't wander far anymore. They don't need to. A single sheet of paper slips loose from a stack nearby and drifts to the floor. No one notices. It lands softly, barely making a sound, as if it knew better than to interrupt. I decide it looks comfortable there. The cat shifts in its sleep, tucking its nose closer to its body. That small movement feels like punctuation. Not the end of anything, just a pause that knows it can last as long as it wants. Breathing happens somewhere else now. I'm aware of it, but not involved. The factory hums at a lower pitch, like it's humming to itself rather than for anyone else. The city outside keeps being a city, but it feels very far away. Whatever urgency it has doesn't reach in here. I stay where I am, wrapped in warmth and shadow and the quiet confidence of a place that's done this 1,000 nights before. Nothing needs my attention, and that's exactly how it should be. The night feels settled now. Not finished, just comfortable where it is. The factory has grown quieter without becoming still. A few machines continue their patient motions, but many have been allowed to rest. Their silence doesn't feel empty. It feels earned, like the pause after a long conversation when no one feels the need to say anything else. I hear the faint creak of the building as it cools. Wood adjusting, brick holding its shape, metal contracting just enough to be noticed if you're already listening closely. The sounds are slow, thoughtful, as if the structure itself is stretching before sleep. Somewhere down the aisle, a worker folds his coat over his arm and walks away without looking back. His footsteps fade gently, absorbed by distance and dust and time. I imagine him stepping out into the city air, the river nearby, streetlights glowing softly against the dark. In here, the lamps glow lower. Their light feels closer now, hugging the surfaces it touches. Tabletops, stacks of paper, the uneven texture of the brick beside my head. Shadows deepen, but they don't crowd in. They stay where they belong. I notice the rise and fall of my chest again. Slow, steady, effortless. It feels like the factory, and I've agreed on a shared pace. Neither of us is leading, neither of us is following. We're simply existing at the same speed for a while. A loose scrap of paper brushes against my boot as a faint draft moves through the room. I don't move it. It seems content where it landed, curled slightly at one edge like it's already figured out how to rest. The cat hasn't stirred in a long time. That feels reassuring. My thoughts arrive less often now. When they do, they're quiet ones. Simple ones. The kind that don't ask to be remembered. They pass through gently, leaving no trace behind. The brick wall supports me without comment. The floor stays solid beneath me. The factory holds everything else together, and I remain right here, comfortable inside the steady calm of a place that knows exactly how to carry a night. The factory has fully settled now. Not shut down, not asleep, just existing in that quiet middle space where things are allowed to slow without stopping entirely. A few machines continue to turn somewhere deeper in the building, but their presence feels distant now, like a memory you don't need to hold on to. The sound reaches me, softened, rounded, worn smooth by walls and time and familiarity. Nothing sharp remains. Nothing insists. The air feels cooler against my skin. Not cold, just honest. The kind of cool that comes from night finally deciding it's here to stay for a while. I breathe it in without thinking about it, and it settles easily, like it knows where it belongs. Somewhere, a door closes. Not slammed, not hurried, just closed. Footsteps fade down an aisle and then disappear entirely. Whoever they belong to doesn't come back. The factory doesn't react. It's used to people leaving one by one, slipping quietly out into the city, carrying the day with them. I imagine the streets outside now. Gas lamps lining the roads, the soft clatter of a streetcar somewhere near the river. The smell of damp stone and coal smoke and night air drifting between buildings that don't sleep all at once, but in pieces. In here, the light stays low. The lamps glow steadily, casting warm pools across tables and stacks of paper that won't be touched again until morning. Shadows stretch lazily and then stop moving altogether, satisfied with where they've landed. I realize my body has grown heavy, not uncomfortable. Just grounded. My shoulders rest fully now, no tension left in them. My hands lie where they've been for a long while, fingers loose, palms warm, paper dust clinging faintly to my skin like a reminder of where I am. Or maybe where I was. The distinction doesn't feel important anymore. The brick wall behind me holds steady, cool and solid and unconcerned. It doesn't shift, it doesn't creak, it simply exists, supporting without effort like it has for decades. I stop noticing individual sounds. The factory becomes a single presence, a low, steady awareness, like being near the ocean without focusing on individual waves. The rhythm is there, but I don't need to count it. Breathing continues on its own. Slow, even, reliable. Thoughts arrive less often now. When they do, they don't stay. They drift through gently, like scraps of paper caught briefly in a draft, before settling somewhere out of sight. I think, briefly, about how many nights this building has seen, how many people have leaned against these same walls, how many backs have rested where mine does now, how many quiet moments have happened right here, unnoticed and unrecorded. That thought feels comforting rather than heavy. The cat doesn't move. That feels like confirmation. Time stretches again, but differently now. It doesn't widen, it softens, edges blur. Minutes stop lining up neatly and begin overlapping, folding gently into one another until they are no longer distinct. I might be sitting here for a long while, or not very long at all. Either way feels fine. Eventually, I become aware of a familiar warmth resting in my palm. It doesn't rush me. It never does. The smooth stone sits quietly in my hand, humming so softly it's more a suggestion than a sound. A gentle vibration, steady and patient, like it's been waiting without counting the time. The factory doesn't react. The machines keep their slow rhythm. The lamps keep glowing. The night keeps holding everything exactly where it is. The light from the stone remains calm, unfussed, casting a faint glow that doesn't compete with anything around it. It simply exists alongside the moment, as if it understands this place deserves to be left gently. The walls blur the edges. The sounds soften further. Even the air seems to pause, just for a second, as if listening. I keep my grip relaxed. There's no hurry. There are always places like this. Quiet ones, working ones. Places where nothing remarkable happens, and that somehow makes them perfect. The factory fades slowly, not all at once. Brick and shadow and warm lamplight dissolving like something remembered rather than something lost. The hum steadies. The glow remains gentle. I take one slow breath, and then another. If you're still awake, you don't need to follow me any farther tonight. I'll be off on another boring little journey soon enough. Another place. Another quiet moment that doesn't ask much of anyone. You can find all of my travels waiting for you in the playlist whenever you feel like wandering again. They'll be there. They don't go anywhere. And neither do the quiet moments. They're always right where you left them.